Welcome to the Better Energy Podcast. This is our 8th podcast. We want to welcome Brandon Morales here, the owner of Harvest Solar. Thanks for joining us. And we have Adam, my co-host, as well. And we just wanted to thank you for joining us on this podcast. So yeah, if you can give a little introduction about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and let's go from there.
Perfect. I appreciate the intro. I'm Brandon Morales, founder of Harvest Solar Inc. We're here local out of Dallas, Texas. Man, we've been in the industry for about 3 years now. Traditionally just on the install side and the construction, then we branched out and we became vertically integrated, man. And we're in interesting times, right, of the industry. So just excited to be part of what's happening and be part of the change that we're pushing in the industry.
Yeah, awesome. And for the audience that's wondering, so Brandon's actually my business partner. He joined our company as an investor, I don't know, 1 or 2 months ago at this point.
Yeah.
And he's helped us kind of shape some things and get things kind of going. So he's actually works with SBU directly every single day, many times a day. So, which is cool. Now, you started your company off as a roofing company, right? What year was that?
Oh man, dude, I don't know. I'm getting old. I can't remember. It was about 5-6 years ago. So in Texas, roofing's not regulated. You know, there's a saying here: you have a truck ladder, you can be a roofer. Right. So we started roofing. I started door to door. Right. I would just literally start with my neighbors, knock on doors, say, "Hey, have you had someone check your roof?" And man, take the ladder off, learn how to do inspections, learn how to work with adjusters, and just kept growing. But roofing is very saturated. Once I got my foot in the door with solar, I fell in love with the industry, and we just went all in with solar.
Okay, what would you like more compared to roofing? Just curious.
Even though solar is not too regulated, there are a few regulations in solar. For example, we're a licensed electrical contractor. So that starts to weed out a little bit of the competition. And that's really what I like, because when there's no regulation, people can just do whatever the hell they want, and there's, it's no man's land. It's a wild, wild west. I found out in solar, selling is the wild, wild west, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see how there was no regulations in place, and now that the market and the industry is correcting itself, some regulations are going, people are freaking out. I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the biggest change in regulations compared to the last, 5-10 years?
Oh man, what I see is that solar is the only industry where sales is not a department, but sales is a company. Right, and that generates a lot of problems for the customer mainly, right? Because when you have two companies that need to communicate with each other to accomplish one goal, there's always a disconnect. And that's what we thought. People were just passing blame from the sales company to the install company, and no one will solve whatever issue the customer would have.
So a good example would be you have sales org A and then install company, B, and then they're trying to get a deal through, doing whatever they can to get the deal through. And then there's just miscommunication. They're just kind of making stuff up and just trying to make sure they do whatever they can to get that installed by, kind of tricking installers. And then you guys get the back end, which is fixing all the problems that they cause. Is it something like that?
Yeah, man, I've seen everything. I've seen where customers were promised certain things at the sale, and when we show up to install, they're asking us for it. We're like, we don't know what you're talking about. I started as an installer, so before there was an EPC in between us installing and who sold. So then we'd reach back out to the EPC, said, hey, they're saying they're missing this. We said, well, that's not in the contract, so we'll let sales know. Right? Then they just send the email to sales, hey, your customer's complaining about this, and sales doesn't give a shit. They got paid. EPC doesn't care anymore. They got paid. So the homeowner's calling everyone, customer service, no one answering, and they're stuck now with, man, I've seen jobs that never even got PTO'd.
So for the audience out there, they're probably confused right now because you're like, what's an installer? What's an EPC? Because most people think that's like the same thing. I got my installer, I got my EPC. Can you explain the difference between the two?
Yeah, an EPC is a company that provides engineering, procurement, and construction. Right, so you bring a contract, which is a sold deal, then that company is going to design, going to engineer it, going to permit it. They're going to buy all the materials, deliver the materials either to site, either shop dropping it, or with truck and a trailer. And then the installer is the actual licensed crew that's out there on the roofs, in the attics, wiring everything up. Right. At Harvest, we do everything in-house, from sales to all the EPC work to the install. And we're the licensed electrical contractor, so everything's moving under us. In the industry, though, there have been sales companies, EPCs, and that EPC will sub out to an installer. That's how we got started. Right, so there are multiple companies involved in one transaction. And again, like I said, when we would show up, we weren't even the EPC holding, any of the bag to have power to go back to the sales and say, hey, they're saying this was missing, or maybe the system wasn't sized right, just whatever, man. I've seen it all. I've also seen EPCs that just click on a portal to get paid and never finish the job. So I can't just say that the sales orgs are all the bad ones. No, man, there's been bad apples in this industry all just across the board.
Yeah. What I guess my question is, what's more unregulated? Is it the roofing side still, or is it the solar side still?
Depends by state. I mean, in other states, roofing is very regulated. You need licenses, contractor license, roofing license. In Texas, you don't need jack.
Really?
But you do need to have an electrical contractor's license in Texas. And I think for every state.
So why is the roofing like that in Texas?
Dude, we do what we want in Texas, baby. I don't know. That's just legislative here. I mean,
how long have you been in Texas for?
Your mic's...
I've been in Texas since '99. So I'm originally from New York. I was born out there. My family migrated from Guatemala, and we moved down to New York when I was 9 back in 1999.
Nice.
So I'm more of a Texan than a Yankee, dude.
I'm from Philly, man. So
we're Philly. Oh yeah, man.
I really like Texas.
Which part of Long Island, or not Long Island, New York, are you from?
Long Island.
I don't know if I told you. That's where my family's from.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Oh, have we? Dude, my brain can't work half the time. Crazy, right?
Getting old, man. That's what happens.
Jeez, so, it seems like it.
Get into roofing in the first place. Like, how did you find that opportunity?
Man, so I have a degree in neuroscience. I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't want to go into business.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm very smart. I see patterns, and I don't know why I'm able to predict, what's the outcome of that pattern or what's next in the pattern. I can look at a system and understand how it works, and then be able to, if something is wrong, be able to diagnose what needs to be changed to improve it or to fix it. That's why I wanted to be a doctor. I'm like, man, I'm smart as hell. I can do this. Right? That's what doctors do. They diagnose and then they treat. Right? You have to be able to take all the information, look at what's happening, and then be able to make a diagnosis and treat. Well, after I got my degree, man, I couldn't get into medical school. I had buddies of mine that I think they might have already graduated, that we used to take courses together. You all right, Garrett?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
We used to take courses together, and man, I used to beat them on every exam. We used to bet for lunch. My lunch was getting paid for every exam because I was scoring higher than them.
Yeah,
nice.
I don't come from a family of doctors, or I don't have any relationships to get me through the bureaucracy. One of the medical school here, UT Southwestern, they have 118 seats open for new students, and every year they have an average of 4,000 students applying.
Yeah.
Right. That's the real statistics. So it's not.
That's like what percentage is that? Like 5? No, 10, 20?
I don't know. I can't think right now. You asked me to do math. But let's see, 118 out of 3,000 applicants. That's
Like
like
5%?
3%.
5% if it's like
Give or take.
150? Yeah, it's pretty hard to get in. Low.
Right. So it's who you know, and it's all right. It's bureaucracy. It's who you know. So I mean, I wasn't mad. It is what it is. I went into teaching. You know, I taught high school biology and physics for a few years. Then I was going to go back into school, try to actually get a master's in to become a physician assistant. Well, I had a friend that his his family was roofers. You know, they used to sub out work for other roofing companies, and he told me, he's like, man, he's like, it's so easy. He's like, these guys just go and get the contract, and then we install and they keep all the money. So it's a summer break. I said, shoot, I'm gonna try, dude. What the hell? I'm gonna go out and knock some doors. Summer break, anyhow.
Yeah.
I'm like, so next year, I'll eat. Worst case scenario, I go back to teaching, or I go into the master's program, or I make some money roofing. You know, what, what the hell? So I tried it, man. I started making money. I'm like, oh, I like selling. I like business. I started making money. Then COVID happened. COVID kind of, man, took the legs out from beneath us.
Yeah.
So then I got into just anything. Just I was doing siding, all types of remodeling, flipping houses. I flipped a few houses during COVID. It was a great time
Yeah.
because the house prices here went up almost 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went up fast.
hmm Then everything got expensive, so then I got away from flipping, and that's how somehow, man, I got into solar. Through a connection from someone at church. They said, hey, they're looking for someone to install. When they saw our work ethic, they saw how I ran and do business. I
Yeah.
was able to go from one crew to that year have a total of 6 crews running full time, and we're pumping out about 30 to 40 installs a week. Then I
Wow.
decided and said, man, I'm gonna just bring everything in house. Started to reach out to lenders. We brought on different lending relationships. Then I said, okay, I need to start working on sales. We built an in-house sales team. I said, man, this is kind of harder than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Somehow I got the opportunity to buy into SBU, bought some of it. I said, man, let's go. So then we merged, virtual with door to door, and now we're just trying to take over.
Yeah, we are.
What happened
Literally.
to me, like in COVID, I started solar right before COVID happened, and I ended up selling a lot of deals. And what was cool was everything turned into Zoom, so everything I was doing went virtual. But how I did it was I sold 2 houses that were going for way more than like asking price, and then I bought like virtual leads and stuff. And I actually started in Texas, and I was down like southern Texas in Corpus Christi, and there was like a crazy storm where like everything got so cold and like the pipes burst and everything like that. So I was like offering free generators, and that's how I got started. So I was doing like virtual in southern Texas.
Yeah, no, Texas, Texas is a hot market. It's a different market. It's a crazy market, especially with how many different like areas, utility companies. You talk about unregulated solar, or roofing, deregulated utility companies. That's a whole different thing because there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of companies. But it's a great market. And the prices in Texas are going up. So when you guys started in Texas, like Adam, like utility rates were like 9 cents out here. Now they're like can be
Nine.
doubled. Yeah, it's crazy. So tell us a little about your plans. I know with us, but like outside of that, like with Harvest, like what's your plan? Like like growth wise, like how are you guys doing now? Where do you guys look to get to? Well, and I guess we're gonna be part of that, but like what's your trajectory with everything?
Well, it's hard to predict what's going to happen in the future because the market is so volatile. It's changing, from one day to the other. One day, a company's announcing that they're going bankrupt, and they were worth $1 billion at one point. So when companies like that are dropping out left and right, I would be a fool to say, man, I'm just going to take over the whole country. Right? The immediate thing is to say, okay, what's the actual problem? Where are the problems, and how can we provide a solution? And the more complex the problem you solve, the higher you reward. So what we're really trying to focus on right now is bring our own in-house lending. Right? We're seeing what these lenders that were in the industry, what did they do right and what they do wrong. And then you learn from them.
Yeah.
And having your own in-house lending, it's gonna be the tool I think that's gonna allow any company to weather the storm. But with that said, is you cannot grow too fast either, because as you have more moving parts and then you start growing, man, that's where you can bleed out from areas and not even know it. So our goal is to really form our in-house lending and then dominate Texas and Arkansas. Right. Once those are unlocked, then we start moving to other states that are, in our proximity.
Yeah, for sure. And how do you feel like the Arkansas market's going to be? Because I don't have too much experience. I had like one install there, went pretty fast, but I don't have a ton.
Arkansas is a little behind Texas. So
really?
I think that by the time Texas is, in its full prime, because Texas is following California's lead, right? Especially when you talk about in prices. Everything is shooting up. Texas would be a fool to think that our electricity rates are not going to follow suit with what all these other states like California do. It's going to happen. We're already seeing it happen in the housing, in electricity. Like you said, 4 years ago was COVID. Average was about 8-9 cents a kilowatt hour. Now the average is 18. Some people I've seen pay up to 25 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For us, that's ridiculous. California's paying, last I heard, was like 50 cents non-peak, like 80 cents peak out.
Yeah, nuts. Is Arkansas deregulated?
I believe parts are. Like, I think it's deregulated state, and they have some co-ops. Don't quote me on that. Texas is that's my bread and butter. Arkansas, we did a little. We're licensed, but we don't do a lot of volume over there. We did last year, but as an install, that's why we got licensed.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, we'll have to check out that market more, especially if it's behind Texas. That means it's only going to get bigger. A lot of these states like that people don't really sell in are kind of on the up, like the middle of the country.
Really?
These states. It's like the biggest states are like California, Texas, Arizona, Florida. I think Nevada was big, but there's a lot of like low-hanging fruit out there, like a lot, like a ton.
Illinois is one that I keep hearing is now very popular.
Yeah, they're eliminating net metering at the end of this year. So, and then they have the state incentive where you can get like $15,000 to $20,000 back. Well, it depends. They're SRAC, so it could be less, it could be more. I mean, sometimes like $8,000, $12,000, but they get a lot of money up front.
SRACs, that's something that's new to us because that doesn't exist in Texas.
Yeah, there's solar renewable energy certificates, and there's like, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9 states that get them. Illinois is one of the ones that gets the SRACs up front. Washington, D.C. technically has the best in the country. Because last time I checked, they're in the 400s. So, like, if your system is producing 10,000 kilowatts a year, you're getting over $4,000 in your bank account every year.
Every 1,000 kilowatt hours your system produces, you get a solar renewable energy. So, if it's producing 10,000, you're going to get 10 SRECs. 15,000, 15 SRECs. And then, depending on what state, you can go to srectrade.com and see what the SREC is valued at that particular time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter what you do with that production, whether it's being used, it goes back to the grid or being stored.
All of it. So it doesn't matter. It's even like, it's literally all of it. So you just get one, because it's like the utility companies are getting penalized for not having a certain amount of renewable energy. So they're buying these SRACs claiming it's theirs to get out of the penalties. That's kind of the gist. So a lot of states do it. Virginia was the state I sold a bunch in that did it. They came out with it when I first went there. It was a pretty good market. But Washington, D.C. is really good. And in Maryland, they have SRACs. They also have a state incentive. but there's like a neighborhood in Maryland that if you go in the border, there's a special website that shows you can get Washington D.C. SRACs in Maryland, which is big because D.C. doesn't have big homes because it's D.C., but in Maryland they do bigger homes, so you get bigger systems, and the system's almost free because if they do like same as cash financing, like it really just pays itself off in like 5 years or so, like 5 or 6 years if they do it right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's like almost free.
In Illinois, you can make it free when they get the SREC back the next year, like the 15 years worth of it. So it's pretty crazy when you price out the numbers there.
Yeah, it could be like, technically, if you price the system low enough, the net system cost with the tax credit plus the SRACs could be like zero or
negative,
even profit. Yeah.
That's interesting. But let me ask you something. Changing the conversation. Garrett, you went from selling to owning a business.
Yeah.
How was that transition?
Oh, it's a big transition, I swear. Like when I sold, all I did was sell. All I focused on was selling. Now, running the business is more so like, I don't know, I'm always thinking of a million different things to make sure everything is checking on different departments, messaging, making sure things are good. You just deal with so many more things, like just so many more things that you don't deal with as a sales rep. Like you see a bigger picture, you have to be smart with your money, you have to plan right, you have to be careful with what you say now. There's like a million things.
Now, when you think back, before becoming a business owner, would you think it was easy? It's like, what they're doing is easy. Anything.
Yeah, I thought we'd get to like, hundreds of thousands a month like the first year, and I thought, we would hit, get to $1 million a month in less than 12 months. I thought you could grow this significantly faster, but then when you really get to the reality of things take longer. You get setbacks, you get things that slow you down, like you get things that you just didn't expect. You just, there's a lot of things. And, when you run your business on social media, like that's a whole nother risk as well, because Facebook, they don't have customer service. So if you lose your ad account, you could lose part of your business. So like you have a whole different type of stress, making sure things are like compliant, making sure things are good. But yeah, it was easier as a sales rep, but like but I was trying to make like my goal was to make like $1 million a year as a sales rep. And, I've done hundreds and hundreds in a year, but like now my goal is to be making $1 million a month, 10 million a month. Like that's where we're going next. So, the potential is so much bigger. The growth is so much bigger, but it's also the risk because with what we're doing, like you fall high, like if you fail, you fall higher versus a sales rep. You're not as high up on the mountain yet, so you could recover easier. But when you're building a business, like you get that fear sometimes. Like, what if you fail? Like, what if you don't succeed? And then you start thinking, like, damn, it's what I mean. Like, there's just like it could be a huge setback. It could be a huge. A lot of different things. But then at the same time, you think of all the things you learned, and you're like, you could probably get back there twice as fast, if you did get kicked off the mountain. But so, yeah, I love it, and it's fun, and it's just interesting. But it's also, there's a lot of stress involved too, because you don't know the future. And now, also like talks of, changes in the incentives next year, possibly. That's a whole different like thing that we'll have to prepare for if that happens. So like being a sales rep is easy, being a business owner is harder, but the payoff is so much greater. So I can't complain.
Now let me ask you this, because I was talking to someone and I made this statement. I said, just because you're a great sales rep does not make you a great business owner. Same thing as just because you're a great installer doesn't mean you can become an EPC. Right? You've been in the trenches. And you know that a business requires systems and processes, right? Requires KPIs, requires SOPs. You're building a machine versus just what you can do as an individual, as a sales rep, or as an installer, right? Because I think that's what happened in solar, man. Solar was so young that you could have these guys that are great at selling saying, hey, I want to now have a company that sells. Or these guys that were great at installing, that know their product, that know the ins and outs of installing a system and how it works, and said, hey, I want to run an EPC now. But they don't know anything about business. But money was so good that the abundance of money covered your flaws. Now that there is a lack of money, right, a lack of cash flow, that exposes everything. That exposes your weaknesses, exposes your, the systems that you built or didn't build within your business. And I think that's why we're seeing people go out as well. There was so much money that was being made that no one stopped to actually look at their processes, look at their business as a system and say, okay, where am I bleeding out, or where could I bleed out if something were to change?
Yeah, I mean, if you think back 2 years ago, Good Leap was like approving everybody. Even if you made like $5,000 a year, they would approve you for like $75,000. Like literally every single person got approved. Like I like straight up, like almost everyone got approved in 2021 and 2022. So like everybody was like, oh, this is easy. Because I've talked to companies I know of companies that did 3,000 a month in 2022 installs. Now they're doing 300 a month. It's because the industry's in a different place. We're like in the 2008 real estate bubble that blew, or the .com bubble, but for solar. I think the bubble's just popping now. We're not fully through it yet. I don't think we're going to be through it for at least 2 or 3 more years. But I think, for example, SunPower, who stops older leases? They do, because they're out of money, because they're being investigated. Sonova is paying out longer. Everbright stopped financing and only doing leases. Something is happening to these lenders, and it's only going to get worse. And if they do get rid of the tax credit next year or the year after, it's gonna expose everyone. So this is literally just like the .com, the real estate bubble, and we have probably a good solid 2 to 3, who knows, maybe up to 5 years of pain before it's great again. Make solar.
I don't think it'll ever go back to the days like 2021.
I think we're not going to go in the same like level in terms of commissions, but I do feel like it will be, because the reason being is when the bull run starts up again with solar, we're going to go from 5% to 15-20% in like 10 plus years. So that I think a lot of people are going to be selling like multiple jobs a day consistently, and there's going to be install crews in every single neighborhood, but I think the commissions will probably be way less. So it's not going to be like the 2021, like everybody making like 10, 20, 30,000 a commission like it was back then, which is crazy to think about. But I think
that's crazy, dude.
yeah, I mean, my biggest commission, I mean, the old company I was with paid on batteries, so that helped, and then the finance rebate kickback. But we had a big system, and we're saving the money, and the commission was 28 grand for one job.
Not the one up you, but my biggest was like 32 grand, and it just like blows your mind,
Dude, as installers, like just as installers, not even talking below before we got into the EPC level, like what we got paid per watt was a fraction of, like we were getting on average here in Texas, depending on what company you're with, you're anywhere from 35 to 50 cents a watt.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah,
and from that, you got to cover your trucks, your tools, your people.
Yeah, and let's talk about this, because I want the audience to know, because sales reps always think about like how much they can make, and then you're like, F the installer, we're just going to push deals, we're going to move deals to other companies. They don't realize how much money that you guys have to front, how much money is floating, because, you guys have to buy the equipment, and then the distributor has to buy the equipment, and then they have to lend the equipment to the installer, hoping to get paid on the job. And then on top of that, when there's clawbacks and stuff, you guys have to, you pay $2,000 for a permit, you got to eat the costs. And then on top of that, if there's fraud committed, the lenders will claw back to you guys, but the sales rep got paid already, and they don't lose anything. So like, out there, I'm not going to say any names or anything. Like there's a company that got clawed back like $2 million that went bankrupt because of it. A sales org was defrauding, And sales reps don't really get that because now that company went bankrupt. All the people lost their jobs, all the hard work they put in. They destroyed a family. They destroyed a company. They destroyed everything. Multiple families because these freaking terrible scam artists should go themselves and go sent to prison for scamming. Literally, they should be held accountable. They should be investigated, and they should be locked the up because they're fucking scammers. And these sales reps, these door-to-door shady sales reps, try to max out their commissions, need to get fucking regulated out of this goddamn market and get fucked because they're all terrible.
Garrett going, the reel that we're going to make from that is going to be like, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. No, it pisses me off because we have these scam sales reps that are just fucking 20-year-old kids smoking and doing drugs and tricking homeowners and fucking destroying businesses because they're trying to make a quick buck. But their time is coming to an end. And if it doesn't get talked about, we'll talk about it more and more. And I want these motherfuckers charged and imprisoned and sent to their cell where they belong. Because they're not only scamming you guys as a company, they're scamming homeowners and they're the industry up. So yeah, we should lock them up. Let's go.
Dude, it's not just the sales guys. Like, I agree with you, but I know of EPCs that were
lock them up too.
They would submit for funding before the deal was fully installed.
Yeah, it's
right. And then once the deal, because they can get paid without the deal being installed, then they just start ignoring the customer, man. And you have people paying over a year of payments and their system is not even complete.
All of this fraud needs to be investigated by the government, and these people, these companies, it doesn't matter if they bankrupt, need to be held accountable. Their assets seized, their bank's account frozen, and fucking lock them up. If you're going to do that to somebody, then they're going to do it to you, and we're going to take everything that you have.
We're already seeing that, man. That's why there's a mass exodus in the solar industry. All the guys that the only way they can make money was scamming, they're leaving because the jig is up. Everyone knows. Homeowners are now aware. Right, but even the lenders, ask yourself, why are the lending companies in hot water? I have friends that are lenders in the mortgage industry, and bro, like when I tell them about these lending fees, they said, man, I would lose my license in a heartbeat if we were to do that.
It's a fucking scam. This industry needs a reset from the lending to the EPC to the installer to the sales rep. And honestly, I'm glad, everyone's collapsing. A lot of these companies are going under because it's going to rebirth this industry with good people, good standards, good regulations, good licensing, and the stuff that we need to have this as a thriving industry. And that's why I'm glad, at Solar Bootcamp, we're actually trying to do, the ethical, the right business. And, we won't push deals that are shady. We listen to recordings. We run through compliance software. And we just want to make sure we do good business because it makes my blood boil to hear, like, I saw on Facebook some 88-year-old lady, she can't get her roof done because there's solar on it, but there's leaks and it's pouring water inside, and her insurance had to cancel because she couldn't afford it because of the solar payment, and she's fucked. And it's like those situations, she has no family to help her, like literally killing somebody. Like that sales rep should go to prison. Like that sales rep who sold the job, the installer that put on a shitty roof, they should go to jail. They should have never done it. And now you have this 88-year-old lady who's probably going to die from just her house collapsing on her because literally the water is rushing, pouring in. There's a GoFundMe going on right now. And, if we find the link, we'll post it. But it's just super, super, super messed up. And it makes my blood boil. And this industry, I can't wait. I can't wait until it's regulated. And what bothers me on top of that? And don't get me wrong, I have friends that sell like remotely, like from other countries, like but not U.S. citizens. I just can't. That's a whole different can of worms. Is like people who are not U.S. citizens putting U.S. citizens in debt without any licensing or regulations, scamming household to household, doing shit business, but they don't live in the country. They're not U.S. citizens. There's nothing you can do. And that's a whole different conversation. And this guy, like, you know, came into the industry in the 2020s as a remote program. He left. I hear some things, and now they're doing, like, you know, real estate and stuff. And I'm like, how are these people existing, like, scamming homeowners in solar when the industry gets hard, leaving, and then now you're going to do real estate and possibly, like, scam on that side as well? I don't know if they are on that side, but it's just like the shadiness is just like it's sick. It's sickening. And I feel like a lot of these, like, bad actors, they need to be stopped from, like, you know, doing business in this country that are not doing, you know, doing good business. It's not cool. It's not okay, you know? So anyway,
I agree.
Yeah. I have to I guess we have to wrap up here. I have my call in just 1 minute. But let's leave on a positive note. So what's good about all of this, right? Yeah. What's good about all of this is the industry is going through a shakeup. That's how the .com, you know, became legitimate, the internet. That's how all these other industries became legitimate. That's how crypto and all the other ones became more legitimate, is they go through these cycles, these crashes, and the scamming times disappear and the real times are in replacement. So we're just around the horizon, maybe a few more years, for all these bad actors to be eliminated, to all these bad actors to be kicked out, until we see good business, good companies, good ethics, and we're really in the right direction. And I can't wait for a time when we're not having to deal with homeowners getting told a million lies just to get a deal. And I can't wait for a time when companies do good business, install it properly, and people are happy and they're not just scamming. But anyway, thanks, Brandon, for coming on this podcast. Really appreciate you. Where can we find you on social media? Where do we find you guys?
Just looks up Brandon Morales on Facebook, Harvest Solar Inc. on Facebook, and we're on Instagram as well, Harvest Solar Inc. And then I think my Instagram is Brandon Solar Morales. I could be wrong. No, it's the official Brandon Morales. I want to leave on one comment for my homeowners. Look for local companies. Right? Look for your local solar companies. Why? Because they're holding licenses, and if they're local, they care about their reputation. Right? Because if they were to lose that license due to bad practice, that's it. They can't be in business anymore. So as you have all these guys knocking on your door, see if they're from a local company that's a licensed electrical contractor. If they are, that's who you want to go with. Don't go with your big names, or don't go with just your random guys that, you know, as you look up the company, they're non-existent.
Yeah, you want to find a local company with good reviews, that's been in business, that can take care of you, that doesn't do shady stuff, and you want to make sure you do your homework and your due diligence, because this is one of, you know, second or third biggest purchase of, you know, of their life, and you want to make sure you do it right the first time so you don't live in regret.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we appreciate you. Any other last comments? Any last thoughts?
No, man, thank you for having us. I'm excited for what the future brings for Harvest, for SBU, and for the industry.
Yeah, same here. And if you want to check us out, Adam, what's your Instagram?
So it's drc.solar.
drc.solar, and you can find us two places, solarbootcamp.ai, and then the Better Energy Podcast on Instagram. You can find us there as well. And then our website's thebetterenergypodcast.com and solarbootcamp.ai. But yeah, thanks for having us, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast. Thanks.